Hey guys, I'm Nicole Stitt, and I'm going to be giving a report about Martin Luther. Martin Luther once said, "You are not responsible for what you say, but for what you don't say. Everything done in the world is done by hope." Martin Luther was born November 10th, 1483 in Eisleben, Germany. Shortly after Martin was born, him and his family moved to Mansfield, where his father became a miner. At the age of 7, Martin started school, and at the age of 14, he went to a university to study to become a lawyer. But one fateful night, Martin got caught in a horrific thunderstorm. Fearing for his life, Martin prayed to St. Anna and promised that if he survived, he would become a man of the cloth. After the thunderstorm had passed, Martin was still alive and made the necessary preparations to become a man of the cloth. His family wasn't very excited for him to become a man of the cloth, but when you make a promise to God, you make a promise to God. After Martin had studied to become a man of the cloth, he realized there was corruption in the church's teachings. He wrote 95 theses which stated everything that was wrong with the church and its teachings. While Martin wrote this, it started a reformation in the religion and educational system. Martin, during the Reformation, wrote 2 articles. One of them was a sermon on keeping children in schools, and second, to all the councilmen of all cities in Germany, that they establish and maintain Christian schools. During the Reformation, there was 3 main goals or points of the Reformation. It was 1, the education of children must be a religious education. So as it was still a scholarly education, it still had to be a religious education also. Second, it had to be an education of a Christian man. So they had to study and learn liberal arts. They needed to know and glorify God in every calling. And it was also focused on education wasn't about church schools or a job school. It was generally about learning. And then thirdly, it talked about the primary goal of education was to create a sanctified life for God's people. The writings that Martin wrote during the Reformation had 8 important things that it elaborated on to help create a better educational system. Those 8 things are: 1, first, it laid out a foundation for an education system. At that time, they didn't have a very sturdy education system. Second, it helped the students learn discipline and instruction to help them later on with their duties in life. Third, the importance of church and state schools. So, having religion and scholarly both taught in schools, and yet the importance of the separation of them. And it also talked about the worth of teachers and the importance they have in teaching the students. Fourth, the obligations of the parents, ministers, and civil officers to teach the children. It wasn't just the teacher's duty, it was also their duty too. Fifth, it talked about the reorganization of schools. So it helped create a graded instruction and a course study so everyone could learn the same things. 6, educational sciences. So it broadened the view of what they would be learning. 7th, improvement in methods of teaching. So it helped make teaching fun and learning fun. It helped the students provide the necessary skills they need to question things. And then it also helped with discipline with love. 8th, about the relations and virtue, the relations of virtue and intelligence in education. So practically the importance of education and what it represents. Throughout this Reformation, it all started out slowly because the people were a little against it, because you don't go against the church. But after a while, and after many different reformers helped, the Reformation moved along and created a better educational system for the students and children. But how does this affect us today? Well, first of all, it created the format for an educational system. Second, Second, it helps set a specific curriculum. So when we go to school, we all have to learn, like, the basic English, math, biology, anatomy, whatever. The Reformation helped with that kind of an idea. It also taught the importance of teachers and the role they play. The important roles of a teacher are to teach, to love the students, be a role model, and help create relationships between the students and the teachers, and to help them create relationships with other people. And at that time, it's important for you to create relationships, because when you go on to work, you need to have relationships. And then it also set a clear line between state and the church. Nowadays, you don't have really much religion in the public schools. And this is one thing that helped move that in motion, that there is a separation of state and church. Martin Luther was a very influential man in the educational history. Without Martin Luther, there wouldn't have been a Reformation, and there wouldn't have been an educational system that we have now. Another key aspect was he also translated the Bible, which I found to be kind of interesting, because since he found corruption in the church, he translated the Bible so the normal people, or the laity people, which was another word for common folk, could learn for themselves. And that's another important thing about today. We have textbooks now. We have our own translation of the Bible, so we can help ourselves understand the teachings and not rely on other people to tell us. Martin Luther was a key person in the educational history.